Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with my lovely week number. I had to look this up. Week 6 of my wonderful coronavirus economic depression unemployment update. So we'll get through the procedurals as always because that's what we start with. My former employer, I learned that how they screwed up my last check with the health insurance. Well, they weren't able to keep my health insurance for this month, so they're going to refund me the money. I haven't gotten it yet, so I'm assuming I'm getting it when they process payroll this coming Friday. So I'll have to email the HR person and ask if that's when they're going to do it, but that's just my assumption. I'll confirm that, but whatever. So I currently do not have health insurance, unfortunately. I did look into it, um, and to get health insurance through healthcare.gov or Obamacare, it would have been like $550 a month for basically piss poor coverage for myself and my wife. And it's like, yeah, that's not happening. I wasn't gonna spend that kind of money to have health insurance, especially since I'm unemployed. With my wife, what we decided to do is she did sign up for health insurance through her work, and it's kind of subpar health insurance because she just works in retail, so they're not offering great benefits. But it's definitely better than nothing. She's gonna pay a bit more than $200 a month to cover herself. Adding me would have more than doubled that, and since she earns a low wage, we opted just to cover her. So she's at least covered. I am not. And, you know, our healthcare system, in my opinion, is completely immoral and indefensible. And if you defend it, you're just, I don't know what to say to you. You're either stupid, selfish, or short sighted, something like that. But anyway, getting off track here. Uh, next, um, next procedural thing, right? Um, Unemployment, calling them to talk about taxes. Well, I actually got a hold of a person at unemployment. What day of the week did I talk to this person? So let's see. Just bear with me, guys. I got to figure this out. Like sometime on like Wednesday, right? Actually talked to a person on Wednesday, and she lied to me. Well, not. I don't think she meant to. Uh, I spoke to an initial person, asked them about withholding state income tax, right? And she wasn't able to help me because everybody in the unemployment office is working from home. And she said, well, and she wasn't able to transfer me because there was something wrong with her system or whatever. And she said that what she would do is she would send a message and someone would call me within 72 hours. Shocker of shockers, no one called. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. Um, so, again, of course, the epic struggle of that will continue this coming week. And the last procedural thing is a small one, has to do with medical bills. I sent some information off to have some of my medical bills canceled or reduced in early April. I called to follow up this week. They claim they never saw anything. They're sending me other paperwork. I have a feeling I'm just having them resend the applications because once I confirm it's the same outfit, I'm going to be like, rather than sending yet another application, I'll say, hey, we sent this in. Here's the information. Help us out here. Something like that. We'll see. I'm not too stressed about it. That is what it is. So that's all the procedural crap out of the way. So let's, of course, now talk about job hunting, right? I actually had two phone interviews this week, which in the modern age of COVID-19 counts as actual interviews, right? It's basically the same thing as an actual interview. So I'll talk about the two jobs. One was the work at home Office 365 admin thing. I didn't do well in that. I think I had that one on Tuesday, was it? Maybe some shit like that. Oh, I think it was Tuesday. And I talked to the guy. Um, I'm not a 365 expert, right? I never claimed to be. Not even close. So I don't think I knew enough about 365 to really get very far. I'm sure he passed on whatever I said to the hiring manager, and I guess the hiring manager wasn't super impressed. And I'm pretty sure that's dead because he told me when I spoke to the guy Tuesday, it was just some Indian, so you know how that goes anyway. That he would, um, get with me the next day and let me know how it went. I never heard from him, so I'm just assuming it's a dead issue. Really for me, no harm, no foul on that one. My other interview that I had over the phone this week was with a medical lab around here that's doing a lot of testing for the coronavirus right now. So they are expanding, but they are a rather silly place. The email they sent me, they really like the smell of their own farts, I think. Or if I can find it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to read you some of just the things they say about themselves in their email. I've been chosen to do the interview. Hooray. We are 4 years old with a startup, all hands on deck attitude. We're in the heart of an inconvenient place. Compliance, compliance, compliance. We're the best in the game. And then they tell me about all the testing they do. Check out all our social media pages. We have some big updates. We are always trying to innovate and want to hear your voice. Do you have an idea on how to make a process better, easier? Tell us. Do your research. Innovate. Every passion, high energy, can-do attitudes are only allowed. So, with that being kind of the first part of the email, I'm reading that. I'm just like, oh, brother, give me a break. I scrolled through and I looked at, because they actually had the pay at the bottom of the email, and the pay was right. It wasn't in the article when I initially applied for the job, because if it was, I probably wouldn't have applied. But it was right. But it was at the bottom of the email, and it was $20 an hour. I'm just like, I didn't can't I was like thinking to myself, I'll just do this interview just as practice, just to see how it goes. And I did some research on the person who was going to be interviewing me. And this person, I guess he's somebody's son or a relative of somebody or something, because the quote IT lead there, who, if I were to get this mythical job, would be my boss, graduated college last year. And this is his first job after college. So, yeah, it's my dream to work for entry-level IT wages, with a college kid being a potential boss. I was just like, fabulous. So, going into this, I wasn't overly enthusiastic about it, right? I was like, okay. I was still going to do it, though. I wasn't going to, intentionally tank myself, but I wasn't nearly as enthusiastic as I would be about a better job, obviously. So, I think the interview happened Thursday. So, anyway, the interview happened, and what really surprised me is how they started. They asked me, and here's where I think I probably did shoot myself in the foot a bit. They started off by asking me what I thought about the pay and the benefits. I was shocked that was like kind of the first thing what they led with. I said, well, I didn't really expect that in the beginning of the interview. I said, but okay. I said, honestly, I didn't realize the wage was that entry level. I said, looking at this wage, yeah, it's very much entry level. I'm a person with 15 years of IT experience. I don't know how much wiggle room you have in the pay, yada yada. And that, I I wasn't planning on really bringing that up at all, but they did, so I talked about it. And then at one point they asked me like why I was looking for a job and or what was going on. And I said, well, if the coronavirus hadn't occurred, I wouldn't even be speaking with you folks. So I wasn't the most enthusiastic I could have been, that's for sure, during it. But that being said, other than that, I did try to be as professional as I could, answer the questions as well as I could, blah, 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 all the normal stuff. And I did go ahead and send a thank you note afterwards just to be, quote, professional, right? Just to see what happens. Worst case scenario is, they just, don't pick me. I don't think I'm super likely to get picked, but then again, I've thought that before and I've been shocked. But what if I am picked? Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Then I don't know how I'll handle that. Yeah, it's not a decision I have to make yet, but at some point I might have to make a decision on a job I'm not totally wild about. So yeah, I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And as far as applying for jobs, I found various jobs to apply for this week, just like every week. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, at least I did have a little bit of forward progress this week. It like lurched forward a tiny bit, which is much more than what happened in the previous month. So I guess that's something, right? Other than that, I've been doing the normal stuff. Trying to keep busy as much as I can. Doing the homeschooling with my kids, which again, I'm a couple of days this week. My 9-year-old spent like 6 hours, like literally like 6 or 7 hours, like on a single page of math. It wasn't even all that difficult. So yeah, that continues to be a great source of fun for me. Let's see. That's basically it. This weekend, I went to a buddy's on Saturday and hung out all day long, had some fun there. And I've also been doing a project the last few days. And if you guys are bored after this is over, stay tuned for about 8 minutes of me talking about my project and showing it. It's not very exciting. I'm just warning you. And actually, it'll be more than 8 minutes because I think I'll show a couple parts of this project just for shits and giggles. So yeah, as far as what comes next week, I have no idea. We'll see. So that's it. If you want to jump off now, feel free. If you want to see that bonus footage, stay tuned. See you guys next time.
Okay, guys, here's a little bit of info on that exciting project that I was talking about that I've been doing the past couple of days. As you can see here, we got a giant pile of cables, just random cables. Those are all going to eventually be going to the recycling center because there's some copper in them, so they have a low amount of volume. I go to the metal recyclers every so often, whenever I have enough to really make it worth my while to go. So I have this. I have a PC case that I'm filling with various metal. I've got that. I got a few pieces of metal to get rid of, but I definitely don't have enough for a trip to the recyclers yet. Yeah, there's some unsightly junk on the floor. And here, basically what the project is, I decided to go through all of my cables, right? Because anybody who has any amount of electronics, computers, whatever, you acquire many cables over the years. And previously, before I decided to do this project, all of my cables were strewn about not categorized, spaghetti mess. You get the idea. So, over the course of about 3 days, not all day, right? Probably 2 or 3 hours a day. So I probably put 10 or 11 hours into this total. Yeah, I know I'm an exciting guy. I categorized all my cables, so, and tied them up the whole 9 yards. In this drawer, I have basically audio video cables, right? Which are digital ones like generalized HDMI, RCA cables, some different grades. I got some nice ones. I got some crappy ones. I got some speaker cable, 1/8-inch audio cables. You never know if you'll need that stuff. A lot of some more speaker wire. Just a lot of that stuff, though. I got rid of a lot of this stuff. So there's that drawer there. In all of these, as you can see, they're not clumping together because every single one of these, I at least twisty tied, right? That way I can dig through this. Oh, and I also put my network cables in here because of the cables that I have, I only have so many network cables. So I was like, well, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I can dig even to the bottom and get something out, and it's, you know, not tangled up with all the other cables. That's what made this so time-consuming, not just separate. Here is very much kind of a generalized drawer where I have basically some, quote, extra things I have. This is an extra cable modem. This is kind of a specialized, you know, basically this is so I can make the longest RCA cable in the set of RCA audio cables in the world if I ever want to. Got a small micro to large HDMI. Got an extra keyboard in here. Mouse. AV switcher that I am going to incorporate in one of my setups. Wi-Fi adapter. Coaxial cable. AMD cooler. And 1/4-inch headphone jack. I know it's a random motley collection, but again, it's all relatively well organized. And then under here, literally all of these cables are essentially standard power cables for you know, PCs, monitors, and you know, the figure 8 barrel plugs that a lot of electronics use. So that's that entire drawer there. Now I have another container here full up of stuff. There's the lovely top junk. So in this one, this one's much more PC centric, by the way. These are a whole bunch of internal cables for PC, you know, like basically Molex to other power adapters or whatever. I got a bunch of SATA cables in here. I've got some RAM sticks, both desktop and laptop. PCI Express network adapter in case I ever need it. Probably, you know, who knows. So there's that drawer. This drawer is just basically screws that you would use inside a PC. This is an awesome little device here. This has a magnet on the end, and you can, you know, like say you drop a screw or whatever, you just goes down and you pick it up with a magnet. Pretty neat. And just like basically internal PC stuff. I got a couple of case fans in here. That's basically it in that drawer. What's in the next one? Okay. Next one is basically PC video. And by PC video, what I mean are DVI and VGA and VGA to HDMI adapters. So basically just things that aren't HDMI that hook up to PC. So there you go. I had a bunch more, but again, I'm just thinning this has just been me thinning the herd, right? And this one is just basically some manuals, a few cheap old USB hubs, and some PS2 to USB adapters in case I ever want to use them. In this one, this is all USB. So basically in the rear there, I have a few different classes of cables. I have USB 2.0 cables, I got USB 3.0 cables, and I have USB extensions. And again, every single one of these is individually twisty tied, so I can get them out real easy. They're not tangled up. And I even did the same thing for this. I separated this off because on the bottom here I have a whole lot of basically, you know, USB plugins to the wall. I have to look and see what the power rating on all these are, but yeah, they're just all these essentially. And of course I got a bunch of micro US and mini USB cables in here. And of course the same thing, they're all nice and twisty tied up. Down here I've got a just a few hard drives, a couple of 2.5-inch SATAs. The only IDE drive I have left, I can't even remember where this IDE drive came from. And of course I have a USB to SATA / IDE connector set up there. And then lastly in this one, I have, this is my, what I would call portable power solution. Basically what it is, I have really long, these are extension cables, 2 of those, plus I have a power strip with a couple of standard, this is just you know, very short extension cable, and then I have basically a power strip with 2 standard power cables plugged in for, you know, a desktop you know, tower and monitor, and that is basically it. This took an extremely long time. Used up almost all of the twisty ties I have. This is all I got left. I do still have a little bit of work to do because I have some video game cables I need to kind of wrangle up and tie up, but for another box of stuff. But I got rid of a lot of stuff, so it felt good to purge some, but it also felt really good to you know, kind of put everything in its place, as it were, right? And because now I know where everything is, I know what I have. You know, what actually prompted this was a search for a specific USB Wi-Fi adapter. It really wasn't the cables. But when I was looking at my cables, I was like, you know, I got to do something about this. It's probably been in a state of disarray for at least 10 years before I finally decided to put it in order, so to speak. I know it's still not pristine or anything, but it's a hell of an improvement. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Okay, guys, here's part 2 of that project that I was talking about. I previously had a problem. As you can see, I have a PC right here, okay, hooked up to this television. Alright, and before I had a problem, I was using the analog out on this PC running into that receiver down there, okay? And the problem with that is there was a lot of electric, you know, there was a buzz, a hum, whatever, and it was really bothering me. So after, you know, organizing all of my cables, I had the super bright idea of deciding to remedy that problem, because I was like, well, you know, this has an HDMI connector on it, right? So I thought, well, if I, you know, take out the VGA and the analog out and just run HDMI, there's probably not going to be any noise. So right now the audio is running out through HDMI. So let me go ahead and pause the music here real quick. I can't, it's hard to do one-handed. Just mouse pointer. Okay, there we go. All right. The receiver's not turned up very loud, but even at this low volume, when I had the PC input on, you'd hear hum coming out, or a buzz, more accurately, coming out of the speakers. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to crank the receiver up. Okay, on max volume, you can definitely hear a little bit of noise. But let me put it in a listening level that I'll actually use, not all the way up. I never listen that loud. Usually I don't go above, you know, the mid-60s. So we'll put it on 65. And there's no noise. So that was a big solution to, I was thrilled to death that that happened. But the road to getting there was not easy. Okay? Because before I could hook that up via HDMI, I had a problem. I lacked one. I was short in HDMI input, right? Because what do I currently have hooked up via HDMI? Well, I'm going to show you all the things, guys. I have an original Xbox, a Dreamcast. Those are both hooked up via HDMI. I have an NES Classic, an SNES Classic, and a RetroPie in a Sega Genesis type of case. Those are all hooked up via HDMI. And this television only has 2 HDMI inputs on it. So, obviously, most of the HDMI things are running into this receiver right here. This has HDMI switching in it, right? But I was still short 1. Then I remembered I had this HDMI switcher box to where I could add an HDMI input. Or 2 more. This has 3 inputs on it. So I was able to add an HDMI input. But I decided before I was going to redo all of this wiring, right? I was like, well, I got to test this thing and make sure it works. So, luckily, I have a secondary television right here with an HDMI input on it. So, I got the bright idea of getting a couple of... So, what I was doing is I was running my computer HDMI and a DVD player's HDMI into that switcher box. And then running it into that TV to see if it was working. And at first, it didn't work. Actually, no, I take that back. When I first did it, it worked perfectly, right? And then I was getting bizarre images on the screen and then just nothing, right? So I was like, great, the box doesn't work. And I was a little dejected for a second there. And then I thought to myself, well, let's just test all of the cables out, right? All the HDMI cables. So I did, and it turns out one of the cables was bad. Basically, the output that I had from that box going into that TV, the cable was bad. That is the first time I've ever had a perfectly, seemingly good digital cable fail like that. So, threw out the cable, switched the cable, then that box started working perfectly. So, that was good. So now I'm going to just for fun, I'm going to show you guys all of the crap I have hooked up to this television. This TV has more inputs than any TV I've ever owned. This is I think I bought this like back in 07, 08. I've had this TV for quite a while. It's a 47-inch 1080p LCD in case you're curious. It's an Olivia, which doesn't exist as a brand anymore. So anyway, this is obviously the HDMI input I have for the computer. So we'll switch over to the second HDMI input, which is where a lot of action is. And I have to actually see stuff. We have to kind of go through the some of the HDMI. So I'll hit this one. I have to switch on my... Why is there no picture? Oh, there it is. Okay. This appears to be the SNES Classic. Right here. It does take a few seconds for the picture to sync and everything. But as you can see, it's working perfectly. So let's switch that off. And I'll switch over to what I think is the NES Classic here. On the receiver. Which button is it? There it is. Let's see what we get. Yep. And there's the NES Classic. And now we'll switch over to the RetroPie here. So that is going to be this one. I believe it's this one.
16-bit sports strategy.
Yep.
16-bit sports moves.
Yeah.
16-bit sports action.
Okay.
What Nintendo? The 16-bit Genesis system by Sega.
Okay.
Genesis does it all.
Then I got one here that is the trying to remember which one is the no, it's not that one. Let's see here. I know this is exciting, guys. I'm having a brain freeze forgetting which one is the Dreamcast. Video, maybe? Let's try this one. Ah, yep. That is the Dreamcast. It's dark because it's been idle for quite a long time. But now you get to see what the Dreamcast does when it's been idle for a long time. That's kind of neat, right? So... okay. And then if I want to see the Xbox, the original Xbox, I hit this button here because I have the Xbox hooked up directly to this thing. And wow, it really does go dark, doesn't it? Let's see if we hear anything. Yeah, we can hear those classic sounds. But the other cool thing is the way I have this hooked up, it will even do analog sound sources hooked up to the TV through this same connection. So I'm going to go ahead, turn off the original Xbox there. And we'll switch over. Oh, I guess I'll just run through just so you guys can see how much this has. One HDMI, HDMI 1, HDMI 2, VGA, VGA component, standard tuner. We got 2 composite AVs, 2 S-Videos, and 2 components. So we got a lot of stuff there, right? And there's the Wii. So, all kinds of stuff going on there. So that is basically it. This took me several hours, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours. It definitely took a while because there was a lot of moving stuff around, testing, making sure everything worked. It was quite a bit of work, but in the end, now everything works. At some future point, I do have some actual vintage gaming hardware. I have an N64 and an SNES in there that I need to hook up to this television here. This is a gaming CRT television. And we'll be doing some comparison between emulation and actual hardware just for fun. So that's it. I hope you guys really enjoyed this kind of in-depth look at what I've been doing. And if you guys are in any sort of similar situation, maybe I'll give you a few hints. See you guys next time.